You ever wake up in the middle of the night, heart pounding, mind racing, and you feel something pulling at you? Maybe it's doubt, maybe it's fear, maybe it's that quiet whisper telling you there's more to your life, more to your purpose, more to who you really are. At 3 a.m., something shifts. The world is quieter, distractions are at their lowest, and your mind is no longer pulled in 100 different directions. In that stillness, something happens. You feel things more deeply, you think about your life differently, and if you're paying attention, you sense a presence that is bigger than you. This is not just another moment in time, it's a moment of spiritual awakening. There's a reason so many people wake up at this hour, feeling an unexplainable pull. Some may call it coincidence, but deep down you know it's something more. It's that moment when the physical world slows down and the spiritual world comes alive. Your soul is more open, your heart is more receptive, and the things you've been suppressing all day begin to rise to the surface. You're not just awake, you're being awakened. In the silence of 3 a.m., there's no noise to drown out what you truly feel. No distractions to push aside the thoughts you've been avoiding. The things that didn't seem important in the daytime suddenly feel urgent. Your purpose, your struggles, your deepest questions, they all come rushing in, demanding your attention, and that's because in this moment, your spirit is more in tune with the unseen. You're being called to something greater, to look beyond what's in front of you and tap into something deeper. This is the hour when the weight of life can feel the heaviest. The things you've buried start to surface, the emotions you've ignored become impossible to push away. You start questioning everything, your choices, your path, the direction you're heading. But what if that's not a bad thing? What if this moment isn't about breaking you down, but about waking you up? What if this is the exact moment you need to realign, to step back from the chaos of daily life and see the bigger picture? At 3 a.m., the layers peel back. The version of yourself that you present to the world during the day fades away, and the real you comes forward. There's no mask, no pretending, no distractions, just raw honesty between you and something much greater. And in that honesty, you begin to feel something shifting inside you. You start to realize that the things you've been running from can't be ignored anymore. The struggles you've tried to carry on your own need to be surrendered. The questions you've been asking have answers waiting. You just have to be willing to listen. Some of the most profound moments of spiritual awakening happen in the stillness of the night. When you're too tired to put up walls, too drained to pretend everything is fine, you're finally in a place where you can receive what's meant for you. The guidance, the clarity, the reassurance that you are not alone. It's all there waiting for you to be open to it. But it requires you to lean in, to stop resisting, to recognize that there is something greater trying to reach you. There is a reason your soul is restless at this hour, a reason you feel something pulling at you, nudging you, refusing to let you sleep. This is the moment where transformation begins, where old patterns break, where new understanding takes root, where you stop just going through the motions and start living with purpose. This isn't just about being awake physically, it's about being awake spiritually. Because once you wake up at this level, you can't go back to who you were before. Fear has a way of creeping in when everything is quiet. During the day, it hides behind the noise, buried under responsibilities and distractions. But at 3 a.m., when the world is still, fear rises to the surface. It confronts you in ways that feel overwhelming, making you question everything, your choices, your future, your worth. It's in these moments that you have a choice. Let fear consume you, or use prayer to break through it. There's something about the darkness that magnifies fears. It makes problems seem bigger, uncertainties feel heavier, and anxieties more intense. Your mind replays every mistake, every doubt, every worry about the future. It feels like a battle you're fighting alone. But that's where most people get it wrong. You are never alone in these moments. Fear isolates, but prayer reconnects. The second you turn your focus to something greater than yourself, fear loses its grip. Prayer at 3 a.m. isn't like the rushed, distracted prayers said during the day. It's different. It's raw, It's desperate. It's the kind of prayer that comes from deep within, when you have nothing left to hold on to but faith. It's when you stop reciting words and start feeling them, when you're too tired to pretend, too drained to filter your emotions, and all that's left is your truth. And in that truth, something shifts. The fear that felt so strong begins to weaken because you're no longer feeding it with doubt. You're replacing it with faith. Fear thrives in uncertainty, but prayer brings clarity. When you pray at this hour, you're not just speaking into the darkness, you're calling in light. You're replacing worst-case scenarios with trust, replacing anxiety with peace, replacing doubt with belief. Prayer doesn't always change your situation instantly, but it changes you in the situation. It gives you the strength to stand when you feel like falling, the courage to keep going when everything in you wants to give up. At 3 a.m., your mind is vulnerable, and that's why fear feels stronger. It whispers, lies, telling you that you're not enough, that you'll never overcome what you're facing. But prayer is a weapon. It silences the lies, shifts your perspective, and reminds you of the power within you. When you pray at this hour, you take back control. You refuse to let fear dictate your life. You remind yourself that no struggle is bigger than the God you pray to. Some of the most intense battles happen in the quiet hours of the night, the battles of the mind, the heart, the soul. But the mistake most people make is thinking they have to fight them alone. Fear isolates, but prayer invites something greater into the fight. And when you bring that kind of power into your situation, fear can't win. It loses its grip, its weight, its ability to control you. The thoughts that tormented you start to fade. The panic that felt unbearable begins to ease. The hopelessness that kept you stuck starts to lift. It's not just about saying the right words. It's about shifting your energy, surrendering the need for control, and allowing yourself to trust in something bigger than your fears. When you pray at 3 a.m., you are making a choice. A choice to stop letting fear define you. A choice to believe that no matter how impossible things seem, there is a way forward. Fear might wake you up, but prayer will set you free. At 3 a.m., the world is silent. The distractions of the day are gone, the noise has faded, and everything feels still. It's in the stillness that something powerful happens. You have the opportunity to connect with God in a way that isn't possible in the middle of a busy day. This is a sacred moment, a moment where the distractions that normally pull you away from Him are nowhere to be found. Your mind is clearer, your heart is more open, and your spirit is more sensitive to His presence. When you pray at this hour, you're not just going through the motions. You're not saying a quick prayer before running to the next task. You are fully present. You are speaking from a place of raw honesty, from a place of deep need. And that is when you hear Him the clearest, because in the silence there is space for Him to speak. So many people wonder why they struggle to hear from God. They question whether He is really listening, whether He even cares. But the truth is, the world is loud, and sometimes His voice gets drowned out by the noise. It's not that He isn't speaking, it's that we're too distracted to listen. But at 3 a.m., when the world is asleep and your mind is no longer racing from one thing to the next, you become more aware of Him. The whispers that were always there become clear. The guidance you've been searching for starts to take shape. This is the hour where barriers break down, the things that keep you from connecting with Him, fear, doubt, stress, start to fade in the presence of prayer. You no longer pray out of habit, you pray out of desperation, out of a deep yearning to be close to Him. And when you seek Him in that way, He responds. You feel His peace settle over you. You feel His reassurance reminding you that you are not alone. There's something about praying in the quiet of the night that makes everything more real. The emotions you've been suppressing come to the surface. The burdens you've been carrying feel heavier. But in that moment, you realize you don't have to carry them alone. You realize that God has been waiting for you to release them, to stop trying to handle everything on your own. At 3 a.m., you aren't performing. You aren't trying to impress anyone with the right words. You are simply present, raw, unfiltered. And that is when you experience Him the most. Because God isn't looking for perfect prayers. He's looking for real ones. He's looking for a heart that is willing to seek him, a soul that is willing to surrender. The more you lean into this moment, the more you begin to understand that prayer isn't just about asking for things. It's about alignment. It's about connection. It's about positioning yourself in a place where you can receive his wisdom, his strength, his direction. And that only happens when you make space for it. The world will always be full of distractions, full of things pulling your attention away from what truly matters. But in the stillness of 3 a.m., none of that matters. In that moment, it's just you and him. No filters, no distractions, no noise, just a direct, undeniable connection. And in that connection, something shifts inside of you. The worries that seem so big start to feel smaller. The fears that consumed you start to lose their power. The questions you've been asking start to have answers, because when you seek him in the quiet, you will find him. At 3 a.m., when the rest of the world is asleep, something powerful happens inside you. There is a stirring, a pull, a weight that you can't quite shake. It's in these moments of deep quiet that your inner strength is either tested or revealed. You are faced with everything you've been avoiding, your fears, your doubts, your weaknesses. But at the same time, there is an opportunity to tap into a strength you didn't even know you had. There's a reason why some of the greatest battles of the mind happen in the middle of the night. It's when you're most vulnerable, when your thoughts aren't drowned out by daily distractions, when you have to sit with yourself and truly face what's going on inside. And that's where the struggle is. Because in those moments, you either break down under the weight of it all or you rise. You either let your fears consume you or you push through them. And that choice is what separates those who stay stuck from those who find a way forward. Prayer in these moments is not just about comfort, it's about strength. It's about tapping into something greater than yourself, something that fuels you in ways you can't even explain. When you pray at this hour, you are not just speaking into the darkness, you are calling on the kind of strength that moves mountains, that breaks chains, that lifts you when you feel like you can't keep going. You are pulling from a power that is bigger than your circumstances, bigger than your doubts, bigger than the things that try to hold you back. There are times in life when strength doesn't come from what you can see or what you can do. It comes from what you believe. It comes from the moments when you have nothing left but faith, when you are exhausted, drained, unsure of what's next, but you still choose to pray anyway. That is where true strength is built, not in comfort, not in ease, but in those silent battles that no one else sees. The battles where you have every reason to quit, but you don't. The battles where you feel weak, but you keep pushing. People often think of strength as something external, how much you can handle, how much you can endure, but real strength starts from within. It starts in the way you think, in the way you face adversity, in the way you keep moving forward even when everything in you wants to stop. And that kind of strength isn't built in moments of success. It's built in the quiet hours, in the struggles that no one claps for, in the prayers that no one hears but God. When you pray at 3 a.m., you are doing more than just talking to God. You are reminding yourself of who you are. You are choosing faith over fear, resilience over defeat, hope over despair. You are proving to yourself that no matter what you're facing, you will not be broken by it. You are showing yourself that even in your weakest moments, there is a power within you that refuses to give up. And that power is what carries you through, what strengthens you, what reminds you that you are capable of so much more than you think. Every time you choose to pray instead of giving into fear, you build that strength. Every time you push through doubt and call on something greater, you step deeper into your power. And the more you do that, the more unstoppable you become. Because true strength isn't about never struggling. It's about knowing that even in your struggles, you are never alone. It's about knowing that no matter how hard things get, there is something inside of you that will always rise. At 3 a.m., the world feels different. The air is still, the noise of the day has faded, and you find yourself in a space where the usual distractions no longer exist. In that quiet, there is a shift. something powerful begins to take place. This is the moment where breakthroughs are born, where the impossible starts to move, where the things you've been praying for begin to take shape. There is something significant about praying in the stillness of the night. It's not just another routine prayer, it's deeper, more raw, more connected. This is the kind of prayer that comes from the core of your soul, the kind that carries urgency, desperation, and faith all at once. This is when you pour out everything you've been carrying, your struggles, your pain, your fears, and you lay it all before God, knowing that something has to change. The breakthroughs that people long for don't come from comfort, they come from surrender. They come from the moments when you are honest enough to say, I can't do this on my own, and strong enough to trust that a way will be made even when you don't see how. At 3 a.m., when you pray with that level of faith, things begin to shift. The burdens that felt unbearable start to lift. The confusion that clouded your mind starts to clear. The answers you've been seeking start to unfold. There are forces in life that try to keep you stuck. Fear, doubt, past failures, the opinions of others. These things weigh you down, making it feel like no matter how hard you try, you're still in the same place. But when you pray in the stillness of the night, you are not just talking to God. You are breaking chains. You are stepping into a space where your faith becomes stronger than your fear, where your belief becomes bigger than your doubt. And when that happens, the breakthroughs that seem so far away suddenly don't feel impossible anymore. Breakthroughs don't always come in the way you expect. Sometimes they come as a sudden realization, a shift in perspective, a new sense of clarity. Other times they come as an unshakable peace, a deep knowing that even though nothing has changed yet, something is moving in your favor. But no matter how it comes, one thing is always true. Prayer positions you for it. Prayer is what aligns you with the breakthroughs you've been waiting for. It's what prepares you to receive them, to recognize them, to step into them when the time is right. At 3 a.m., you are in a space where your spirit is open, where your faith is raw, where your connection to God is at its purest. In that moment, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know how everything will come together. You just have to show up, to pray, to trust, and in that space, something starts to shift. The things that once felt impossible start to feel within reach. The prayers that once felt unheard start to carry a new sense of power. The walls that once held you back start to crumble. This is why breakthroughs happen in the quiet hours, in the moments where it's just you and God, where there's nothing standing in between. This is where faith is tested, where patience is refined, where belief is strengthened. And when you lean into that, when you truly surrender, you begin to understand that the breakthroughs you've been waiting for were never about the timing, never about the circumstances. They were always about alignment, about faith, about stepping into what was meant for you all along. At 3 a.m., when the rest of the world is deep in sleep, there is a sacred opportunity to step into divine alignment. This is not just another moment in time. It is a window, a calling, an invitation to tap into something greater than yourself. In this stillness, when distractions are gone and your heart is fully exposed, you enter a space where the supernatural meets the natural, where prayers are not just spoken but felt, where connection with God becomes more profound than ever before. Alignment is not just about asking for what you want. It is about preparing yourself to receive it. So many people pray for change but remain out of alignment with what they are asking for. They pray for strength but continue to walk in fear. They ask for guidance but resist the answers when they come. They seek peace but hold on to things that bring them stress. True alignment means bringing every part of you, your mind, your heart, your actions into agreement with what you are praying for. At 3 a.m., when you choose to pray, you are not just talking to God, you are tuning yourself to His frequency. You are stepping into a space where clarity replaces confusion, where wisdom flows, where you begin to see things from a higher perspective. The problems that felt overwhelming during the day start to feel smaller in the presence of faith. The decisions that once felt impossible to make start to come into focus. This is where answers are received, not always in loud, dramatic ways, but in quiet revelations, in a deep inner knowing and a sudden peace that reassures you that you are on the right path. Alignment is about trust. It's about surrendering the need to control every outcome and allowing God to move in His perfect timing. It's about letting go of the need for immediate answers and instead embracing the process of preparation. When you pray at 3 a.m., you are not just asking for things to shift externally, you are allowing yourself to be shifted internally. You are opening your heart, your mind, your spirit to be molded into the person you need to be in order to step into what you are asking for. So many people give up too soon. They pray for a breakthrough but walk away before it happens. They plant the seed but don't stay long enough to see it grow. Alignment means staying the course, even when you don't see immediate results. It means continuing to pray, continuing to trust, continuing to believe even when nothing seems to be happening. Because what you don't see is that things are moving, doors are opening, pieces are shifting, and the very thing you are praying for is being prepared for you just as you are being prepared for it. When you pray at this hour, you are aligning yourself with divine timing. You are stepping into a rhythm that is not dictated by stress, fear, or external pressures, but by faith, patience, and trust. You begin to see that delays are not denials, that waiting is not wasted time, that preparation is just as important as manifestation. You start to understand that God is not just giving you what you ask for, He is shaping you to be ready for it. This is why 3 a.m. prayer is so powerful. It is not just about asking. It is about aligning. It is about stepping into a space where you are no longer just hoping for change, but becoming the person who is ready to receive it. It is about clearing the distractions, silencing the doubts, and fully surrendering to a plan that is greater than anything you could have written for yourself. And in that surrender, in that alignment, something shifts, not just around you, but within you.